This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
So I wanted to do a video about, I think, a topic which obviously means a fair amount to me as someone who has got to somewhere better than where I was via the use of online guitar playing, whether it's been YouTube or before that Instagram. And the question is, should any guitarist or every guitarist be on social media and be actively posting stuff? The reason for me that I have to use my own experience and say yes is that because up to this point, and up to the point where I was using the platforms that YouTube or Instagram or I guess now TikTok is offered to us, I hadn't really got anywhere that as a child or as a teenager I might have imagined that I might be able to get towards. So I started playing guitar at the age of 8. Before that I played piano. And I kind of went through my teen years practicing guitar for like 2 hours a day and all that stuff. And you have this idea that if you get to a certain level of ability, then necessarily opportunities will come for you. Now, the reality is that actually in this day and age, those opportunities don't necessarily come to you, particularly if you live in the southwest in Devon. If you lived in a city, perhaps, you find opportunity more readily. Or if you lived somewhere in America, or if you're particularly good looking or particularly really good or something, if something aligns nicely, then you might be one of the small percentage of people that things happen for. For me, I went to university and learnt nothing and dropped out after 2 years and went and worked in a supermarket. I kept playing guitar throughout this period, but not really in any huge way. But at some point I started to kind of record videos for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think I had started to attend sort of jam nights to some extent, and as a result there were people that I was seeing that kind of inspired me, and I wanted it to be known and that they'd be able to click on a thing and go and find me playing something. So it was like, could show sort of like a business card or whatever, what I could do on a good day or whatever, how I play guitar, the style that I play or whatever it is. The only real way that you can do that is either by being in person at a jam night or by putting something on Facebook, as I used to do at the time, or YouTube or Instagram or whatever, TikTok. And I think it is a sort of handy to think of it in that way. So I think because I was doing that, my cousin was playing golf with a friend of his who I just saw, right, James, at the weekend. My cousin's a golf player and gopher, and they were looking for a guitarist, and he said, I know my cousin plays guitar, you'd probably do it. That started a journey which ended in
a band called Boa, and we had like a relative level of success, but not exactly monetarily, where we got onto Amazon on Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, and we had the honour of being featured during an occasion where a man walked into a cafe and let off a bomb. So that's my claim to fame. We played some cool shows and stuff, but at some point it was necessary that I earned money, and that band didn't really earn money particularly at the time, because that's just the way the music industry works for some reason. From there, I was also going to jam nights and sort of stuff like that, and that's actually the place where you meet other working, I find, musicians who are doing kind of like covers gigs, functions, that sort of stuff. The kind of thing where you can actually earn a little bit of money as a guitarist, and you can actually make a living off of that stuff. And I found it quite rewarding versus working in a supermarket. And so I'm glad that I did that sort of thing. Now, some of the ways that you get gigs in those things as well, you're not just showing you're playing at the jam night, but you can say, okay, you know, here's my social media details, or, you know, my phone number and all that sort of stuff, and add each other on Facebook. That's how these kind of relationships can continue, I find. And, you know, I got asked by a guy, he got given a guitar gig playing for like an amateur production, but the pit musicians were paid, and it was 2 guitar parts, and he said, can you help me learn this stuff? Because I don't read music. So I did that, and that was kind of how I got into this scene of actually being paid to play guitar. So the reason that I would suggest that the answer is yes is because without doing some of that online stuff, I wouldn't have, you know, gone to real world studios, and I've only had very limited amounts of success, but even those things wouldn't have happened without doing this sort of stuff. You know, that's how people can find your stuff, such as it is. The other thing is it can give you like this kind of short-term project kind of mentality to work on. So whether it's, you might have this idea that original music, an EP, an album is the sort of like noble thing that you should be doing. But I think it's, for most people, not necessarily going to get the sort of traction that you might think it deserves unless you are already active online, essentially. You like people do ask me, do you have original music? Like, it is out there, you can find it if you're really looking for it. To be honest, loads of energy put into that side of things has not been beneficial for me versus, you know, just putting up videos of guitar playing, which doesn't necessarily have to take hours and hours and hours. Isn't me just squirreling away in a studio for 2 weeks at a time, you know, but actually doing this stuff has been way more beneficial than putting out an album that 2 people and my nan don't even listen to. So that's what I would say. It can give you like this idea of a project that you're working on, something to work towards. It can give you like a little sense of completion when a video is done, if you are doing videos or whatever. And it can help you work on your skills in a way that doesn't necessarily feel so arduous or pressurized as something like working on an album or an EP. The other thing that I'd say is that if you're anything like me, I tend to have, when I watch other people play guitar, I have this idea in my head of maybe what I sound like versus them. But that actually probably doesn't even matter anyway. So the thing that got those people to where they are is not just their guitar playing. You've got to take it for granted that pretty much everyone will have had an interest in, you know, practicing guitar a lot, that has ended up on a stage playing guitar, has probably written a bunch of original music, has done the things that you've done, but they've also done this other stuff, which everyone these days is doing, you know, Matthias Asato, Steve Vai, the little Timmy from Polyphia, Tosin Abasi, all of these guys, Bulb, Misha Mansour, have had to cultivate this kind of online energy, you know, making videos about stuff, making music, and trying to garner attention for this stuff. So they're doing the practicing side of stuff as well, but they also have been possibly more diligent than some of us at, you know, the things that are not so guitarist friendly or so fun or so easy to do, you know, the things that are a little bit more salesy, marketing oriented. I think it does help to have a bit of a sense of that, rather than, like, I could be quite envious of some of this stuff, but it's more potentially that, as well as doing the things that I've already worked on, they've also put energy into these other things, you know, whether it is making sure your videos aren't out of focus, like all of mine are, or whether it is, you know, getting hold of a PR agent, or the things and bits and stuff that I wouldn't necessarily want to do, don't have the energy to do or whatever. It's like there's a whole bunch of things that can get a person to where they are that you don't really know about unless you've done them, I guess. So that's my advice. If you're thinking, should I start doing this thing, then yes. Each video that you do doesn't have to be the perfect one. I think what you need to bear in mind is that the momentum of this stuff is carried over time. Like, one thing is not the thing that gives you anything, essentially. What I'd say is that the habit of doing something over time is where you build up whatever it is that you're eventually going to get to. It's difficult to compare people's things, and if you said to someone, yeah, if you upload 2 videos a day for 3 years, 4 years, then maybe you could get to be a point where you chop boxes open with a big machete for a living, then I don't think many people would do it. But that is what got me to wherever I am. I'm quite grateful that I've slogged away at it. And so I would say, if you're thinking about starting this stuff, just get started now. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just showing kind of where you are at. And if you want to be a musician in 2022 or 2023, then the successful ones are already doing this stuff. So you probably kind of have to be. Or you just say, right, I don't want to get involved in that side of stuff. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. Noel Coward said, television is not for watching, it's for being on. And I like to take that approach, like, don't spend too much time on social media, like scrolling. Maybe you log in, you say, right, I'm posting my video, and then bounce. That's what I've found works better for me than being involved in it too much. I think it can be a little bit difficult. Every guitarist expresses difficulties with that, whether they're Jack Gardner, you know, like amazing players, or just a knobhead like me. So yeah, keep it in mind. I think that you want to be probably more creating than consuming in this kind of space, maybe.